All right, NVIDIA, Salesforce, not the only names to have reported earnings. Snowflake, another name you followed closely, Jim. Stock is going to be up sharply here as we get close to the open.
Well, you can basically rent the cloud, learn how to use it, learn how to use AI. But David, I picked this because it's simple. They have what we really want out of a company, and 24% revenue growth and a good forecast. And it's a reminder that there are ways. Why is NVIDIA not up 20%? Why is Mark Benioff, Salesforce, not up? Well, that's growing at 9%. This is growing at the level people want. And I got to hand it to Sridhar Ramaswamy because he took this company over not that long ago. And from Frank Slootman,
yes,
it had a little bit of a dip, but now it's back. And Frank always said it would be back, that just the business could be rocky. That's how I got the forecast as the forecast when I said, I'm worried about the forecast. And he said, the forecast is a forecast.
That was a famous Slootman quote that you've used many times. All right. And in terms of the forecast here, though, I assume obviously we can see that the market is happy with that.
And the list of customers is so long. It's really great. So you'll see a Salesforce down a lot because it doesn't have the kind of growth. And that's all people care about. In the end, they care about big-time growth.
Well, and a lot of it just comes back to rising cloud service growth.
Exactly right.
I mean,
exactly right. And Salesforce, you'd like to, maybe people that Agentforce is not doing well. I think that's totally wrong. But I'm not going to get in the way of anyone who wants to sell something which is really growing at 9 when you've got something that is growing at the mid-20s. Like this Snow, 24% revenue growth is hard to come by.
All right.
So anyway, simple versus difficult is where I'm presenting. And we want simple. We don't want difficult.
Well, simple's where investors are going today, obviously. NVIDIA shares did appear to be up a bit, as you point out.
And Salesforce.
And by the way, the revenue growth rate there is not that far off.
No, the growth rate. And the growth rate's incredible.
The growth rate is incredible.
But look, the convolution. I mean, what's the president going to do about China? Now, China's not as important as it was, but it doesn't matter because everybody in the end is concerned about what the president's going to do. And
you mentioned many times also at the very end of the Biden administration, the new regulations in terms of preventing even allies from accessing certain chips.
Right.
Microsoft, the Journal is reporting, is actively trying to get that changed in the Trump administration.
And so is, yes. I mean, there are 18 friendly countries they were allowed to have unlimited selling. Right. And they're saying, look, maybe that is a little arbitrary, and they're trying to go over with the president's people about how to change those midnight rules that were put together by the Biden administration right at the end of his term. So be aware that there's a lot of moving parts in NVIDIA, no moving parts in a Snowflake.
On these tariffs for next week, do we see renewed selling in autos, for example?
Look, I think that Mary Barra put through that accelerated buy and $4 billion. Other than that, because of this, because her stock sells at 4.6 times next year's earnings, which is really unheard of. Well, Bethlehem Steel traded 2 times earnings, and then went bankrupt 2 years later. So I don't want to, if your earnings about to collapse, I don't think GM's earnings about to collapse. I think GM's earnings would be very hard to figure out for everybody because you have like Allison Transmissions in Guanajuato, and then it goes back to Monterey, and then it goes back to Texas. I mean, we can't even figure it out. And I think that there's a sense that something has to happen so that we can figure out what it costs.